Welcome to the Black Men Think podcast. If this is your first time here, know that the views and opinions expressed by the Black Men Think podcast are those of the Black Men Think podcast and not the individual members. With that being said, we're about to be unapologetically, undeniably black. Enjoy.
So look, it's the end of the year, man. End of the year, 2020 is almost over with. Almost over with. I mean, it's a lot that happened this year. I'll put it like this. But for the sake of this conversation, I got one question. What's your biggest takeaway from 2020?
Wow, man, so much. I mean, like you said, it's been a crazy year, man. For a million different reasons, obviously. I mean, I don't think anybody saw us being quote unquote stuck in the house for 10 months, and then, I mean, to layer on top of that, I mean, you got, death of so many greats, like Kobe, John Lewis, Chadwick Boseman, so it's so many things, man. Man, I honestly, I don't know how to narrow them down. For me, I think it's just the year itself. It's like, I've never experienced a year like this ever, in so many different ways. I think for me, there was so much time to reflect and just take it in and realize like how fragile life is, like how it can legit switch up on us in a matter of seconds, no matter what, what the reason is. So, I mean, I think it's just, if I could put it in a statement, it's really, value every moment. That's just me.
Yeah, I feel that, man. I think for me, it's been a year of just like focus on what you can't control and pray for what you can't, because there's so much stuff that 2020 revealed for me that you just can't control. And it's like, it'll kind of put you in a blender of anxiety and a frenzy of like trying to control everything. But it also, so like, because the time that we were afforded with coronavirus, it's like, there's so many things that we can control. There's so much things that we can manage. And it kind of revealed to me some gaps in like use of my time, where it's like, yo, I mess around and been on Instagram or Twitter this amount of time. And then, I found myself venting a lot on Twitter or on Instagram, or just complaining in my head, and not using that time wisely to build something constructive that I believe in. So just been like taking an inventory of my time, how it's spent, how it's being stewarded, and try to like, I think for the stuff I can't control, I try to pray for that stuff more.
What about you?
I'll piggyback on the prior two statements, but the main thing is, like Marlon said, it's just like just valuing life. Don't take anything for granted, because it's just a lot of people just been passing away this year, and it's like, when stuff like COVID hit close to home, is really an eye opener to show you how fragile life is, and it's really important to communicate with your family, take opportunity to call people when even when if it's only 5 or 10 minutes, just take time to call somebody you haven't talked to in a while, because it's like you find yourself. I know it's been times where it's like someone to pass away. It might be a friend or the family or somebody. You be like, man, it's like I haven't even talked to that person in a while, and I could have just taken 5 minutes or so just to call that person, to check on them, especially like your older family members and friends of the family. I mean, people that you really don't talk to a lot, just take that time to reach out to that person. But for me, being single and without any kids, it's been a time for me. It's been a long time, and it's just like, you really just start thinking about life. I don't have a lot of distraction. Like, I don't have kids running around the house. So for me, it gives me time to really think about things I want to really focus on going into the next year. So it's been a lot of downtime, especially working from home. So the time I spend in traffic or getting ready for work, it gives me more time to focus on myself and things I want to accomplish in the next year, because I mean, life is short, and if 2020 hasn't made that clear to anyone, then they definitely haven't been paying attention to things this year.
Yeah, that's real, man.
That's real.
2020 for me, bro, it's been up and down. It's been crazy. I'll say number one, like one of the main things is that I've learned is that I am by no means ever ready to be a single father. Bro, I need my wife, bro. Like, I'm sorry, like that.
Right.
And that is a very transparent statement. Like, my wife works in the medical field, so she has to be at a location. You know what I'm saying? But for me, I've been at home with the kids, and bro, some days I have found myself like I'm thankful that I get a chance to spend a lot of time with them, but also it's just that part of realizing that I the things that were kind of taken away in 2020 as far as like business wise were my outlets. And so I really didn't have a true outlet, honestly, besides like this podcast and my other podcast. Outside of that, everything was just in. So, that was probably some of the toughest challenges of 2020 is just trying to find ways to redirect energy of when I would have an outlet. You know what I mean? Because I think having that creativity kind of stripped away in a sense, it was a lot for me to just find the balance, honestly. And also, of course, y'all know, like my dad, and then with COVID going around, like I think I don't know. Yeah, y'all know, but like I had my own battle with COVID. So it was like all of this stuff it's just a year of everything, you know what I'm saying? And so trying to balance all of that stuff, and now that we in December, it's like, bro. and I know we all put this end of the year type thing on us, but like the truth is, it's just a time construct. Like nothing really, it doesn't really matter. Like I mean, it is a new year that we're coming upon, but truthfully, it's just like, oh, it's another day if we really want to be honest with it. So
right.
Yeah, that's the thing, man.
Yeah.
Like 2020, while it's coming to an end, this reality isn't over yet. Like
Right,
really a lot of
right.
these things that we've struggled with and been challenged by this year are legit stepping right over into 2021, no matter how many New Year's resolutions are being made, no matter what.
Right.
Like this year was very pivotal as it shifted the way of life for so many people,
Right.
for a million different reasons. I mean, whether, they lost a loved one and now they're having to, have a completely different family dynamic, or, work. I mean, just think about work. Think about how work has changed. Like there are legit, corporations and companies that like where their employees have not seen each other, for, almost 10 months now. And now they're going into their next year, their buildings are still empty, just for safety protocol reasons. Or, I mean, think about school. I mean, I have the privilege of working with a lot of, students and families, each day. And to some degree, that's essential work, even though it's not one of the, named things kind of in the public. But, I've been dealing with kids that have been highly challenged with this virtual learning strategy and models that are out there, whether it's a hybrid schedule, whether it's completely virtual, whatever it is. And these kids are not just being impacted for this short period of time. Like that's the thing that a lot of people aren't paying attention to. The lasting effects of 2020, in a lot of ways, we haven't even seen yet. Think about the learning loss, that a lot of these kids are going to have in the long run, especially underserved communities, or kids who are, where English is a second language in their home, I mean, it's insane. We haven't seen it yet. And so, yes, they might be just kind of wading in the water right now, just barely making it. But what's the impact, when things go back to normal, if they go back to normal, or if they don't go back to normal in 2 years, let's say, what happens to kids who are now 2 years behind academically, but still in that, grade that they should be in, and again, I say lower income, underserved communities of color are going to be impacted the worst. And so it's scary, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's real.
That's, on a lighter note, I was looking at the dates and I realized that we actually launched a podcast in the pandemic, bro. I mean,
that's very true.
this happened, and
Yeah.
you know, for people that don't know, we were recording this thing in different stages all of 2019. But we rolled with episodes at the beginning of March, and so we went through a couple of episodes before things shut down, and we were in the middle of kind of, you know, rolling with the punches as far as like, okay, we have a set schedule, let's go with these episodes that we already got planned, to like, no, we got to shift and talk about what's going on right now, right? Like people are dealing with the, you know, being quarantined, so we had to kind of shift our focus. So I want to talk to y'all, man, like you know, launching a podcast of this magnitude and getting the response that we've received so far. What are your, you know, how did you envision this way back in February when we thought about, you know, dropping this thing, to now we're up, you know, almost a year in?
I mean, I would say shout out to, you, Jay, Mo, who kind of spearheaded and quarterbacking this whole thing. It's been dope. I mean, this kind of reminds me, like, in downturns, anytime there's like crisis, economic downturn, pandemic, there's always the other side of the story, which is what beauty can come out of it. And I feel like that's kind of where my mind's been trying to anchor into, is kind of like, think about the possibilities and the new ideas. I'm thinking about what businesses, what inventions, what type of like success story is going to come out of the pandemic. I mean, there's a lot of doom and gloom for sure, but I'm like, whenever there's doom and gloom, there's like a triumphant story on the back end.
That's true.
So I'm just kind of like, I've been trying to read articles and be encouraged, try to read some of the positive updates of people that's like battling through. And this podcast, honestly, it's kind of like a snapshot of that. You know what I'm saying?
True.
So that's kind of like my take on it.
Yeah, I agree, man. Shout out to JD and Mo too for staying on top of things, because I mean, leave it up to me. I don't know how to run a podcast, or come up with the topics. I try to be a team player, and roll with everybody else. But definitely shout out to y'all for that. But I think for me with the podcast, it's like when JD will read like the different responses that we get from people, because I feel like it was like, man, like, when you start thinking about podcasts, I'm like, man, everybody and their mom is doing a podcast. But when you start looking at the different topics or the different type of podcasts, you don't see many like what we're talking about. We try to keep it straightforward, successful Black men trying to, keep a positive attitude, talking about all different types of things. But I think that's what really stands out when people kind of, when you see that, people are paying attention to what you say, and it makes you want to try to make things better as you go along with our podcast.
Yeah, and I love, what both of y'all said. And I mean, just, Ace, even you made me think about it. Like this podcast has probably been a breath of fresh air to a lot of people. And I'm thankful for that. Even some of the feedback that we've received, or even some of the moments, that we've had on a new platform like Clubhouse, is just, it's actually purposeful for us to be able to, provide these opportunities where, our friendship, just our natural connection, provides, a listening, lighthearted moment, for somebody else. And I think that's been fun. It's been educational for us. I think we've learned a lot in this year. We're used to kind of coming together as homeboys, whether it be over JD's crib or somewhere else, and just kind of shooting the breeze and such. But, obviously having to go to the Zoom effect on everything. And, but it's been cool because, at the same time, I think it allows us to kind of focus in on the topic that's at hand, to get in, get out, and get back to our families and get back to the things we need to do. But it's just been great connecting on these topics. So yeah, it's been a good year.
Absolutely.
Good first
Ace,
year.
I kind of want to go back to what you said though, because I had a lot of reflection on that as well, because like I mentioned earlier, for me, the pandemic really hit me a hard way, because the business that I'm in, I'm required to be around people. And to not be around people, that was a hard hit. But I had to take a step back and really just look at, well, hey, what survived during the pandemic, because never in a million years would I have thought that we would be in a position to where we couldn't be around people. Like that I've never thought about that. Even though I know we've had pandemics in the past, it never occurred to me that someday we cannot be around people the way that we were used to being around people. And so you look at that and see the things that actually survived, right? The one thing that we learned in the pandemic is that internet is king. As long as you have internet, you can pretty much do anything that you need to get done, right? Most of us are still working remotely, so the internet definitely made that possible, right? Even some type of events, virtual became a big thing, right? Virtual events. And so while that you don't have that person-to-person interaction, you're still able to see content. And so I learned that, even though if I kind of knew, but content is really king. As long as you can continue to flood content, you can win in a certain sense. So that was a great learning experience for me, because like I said, we're just so used to going by our everyday. It doesn't occur to that, like, okay, just to put in perspective, bro, we're probably now going forward will all wear a mask outside.
Yeah. No,
like,
that's real.
That's pretty much going to be the standard going forward. Like, and I remember I would only see Asian people wearing masks. That was the only people that I would really see wearing masks. And I used to wonder, like, why, you know what I mean? And this is just me being super transparent. I used to just wonder, like, man, why they always wearing masks? Like that was a real thought in my mind. Now to see that the entire world is wearing a mask, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's something I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon, bro.
I can piggyback off of something you said, though. In the pandemic, you said content is king. And something I read the other day that kind of blew my mind was, if content is king, then distribution is emperor. So like, if the Netflixes, the platforms, the Disney Plus, whoever owns the medium in which people are coming to get the content, that's who's really like killing it. So I don't know if you know about a couple recent success stories in the Black space will be Kev on Stage, comedian. He just launched his own comedy platform. I'm actually thinking about buying it. It's like $60 a year. I may just buy it. This is a support, brother, and just kind of check it out. But like basically, like whoever owns the distribution, that's who's really like whoever owns the land that the people buying plots on to set up business. And it's like, so it's the same model. I've been trying to think about that more, especially like, like re-engineering who's really being successful, what is winning in the pandemic, what are some things for even us to think about, like as we grow in our business acumen, like, what is it that's gonna really be, stand the test of time?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we saw so many distanced, content providers created this year. I mean, the versus battles. Think about that. What started as, a rumor or something that we look forward to as musical, music heads. We wanted to see a battle between, Timbo and Swizz Beatz, and look at what it's become. And I mean, those guys are cashing out. With that one. I mean, that's just been epic. And then, I mean, you said it. You look at the content providers. You look at the reality that new studio movies are now being released digitally. Big deals are being made where movie releases are all being released at the same time, like HBO Max, or Disney or something like that. And so, definitely, man, it's been interesting. It's changed the world. Put it like that.
Definitely changed the world. It changed the world. So I want to talk about this because this really impacted our household a lot, right? Because, and this is speaking from a marriage perspective, and Corey, I would love to hear your perspective as well. But from a marriage perspective, we're in a pandemic and we can't really be around people like we, normally had. Like before this all started, we had a sitter, right? And that sitter went away because of a pandemic. And now also, because of my parents' age and some of their health issues, we couldn't really have the kids around them like we normally would, right? And so, getting around this, and we talked about this on the podcast before, but, trying to be creative in a dating space in a virtual world, you know what I mean? Like, how do you get around that as a married person, and also as, Corey, as you, somebody that's out here that's single and dating, like, how do you do that? Like how do you make that a part of your lifestyle? If you want to share, bro. Like, I ain't trying to.
We've been on an eHarmony.
Christian mingle app.
Well, I'll go first, man. I mean, like,
yeah, we want you to go first.
it's I mean, it's limited, man. The most important thing is finding someone with the same mindset as you as far as being safe. Hey, you know, if we're trying to get to know each other, we're trying to be creative with dating. Like, I'm not going to be out and about all the time. Like, it's just not going to happen. So if you can find somebody, you know, who also thinks like that, then it's cool. Like, I mean, the most common thing you can do is, I mean, if y'all like going out to eat, it's like try to probably go during the week when it's less fewer people there. And even that, you know, pick and choose where you go. And if you go, just try to sit away from people. In the beginning, like for the first 30 days of the pandemic, like I didn't go out anywhere as far as eating out or anything, because I was like, everything was new. I'm like, I don't know what to expect. Can you get COVID from food, or how does that work? And then,
right.
I mean, it's just like, you know, it was a lot of questions.
Trying to figure it out.
I'm not even gonna take a chance. So it took a while for me to get comfortable with saying, hey, I'll go out, you know, to grab something to eat. But like when I go, I just try to sit away from, you know, everybody else, and try not to go really on the weekend or anything like that. But everything else, I mean, I've been to the Beltline. You can go to the Beltline, things like that. Anything you can do
creative
away, away from people. I mean, of course, you always can go to the park or whatever. But when it comes to like, I mean, I've never been like a big club or lounge person anyway. So I'm not going there. To the movies, no. But it's kind of limited. But
Yeah.
You just got to have that person to, you know, whoever you're dealing with, that to know that, hey, we're trying to be safe, so we're just gonna have to like chill out for right now. We can't do the normal things until, you know, things get better.
I mean, you can always do like candlelight dinners at home too, though.
Yeah, you can. Maybe that's something that, you know, the married men do. I haven't done it yet, but yeah.
Corey's like, I'm keeping the mask on until it's time to kiss. That's how he moving.
No, if we're in the crib, man. I mean, like, but if I go out to eat, like, I'm gonna keep the mask on until I'm at the table. Then, you know, I take it off, and then then when I'm walking through the restaurant.
Corey got a bubble over there. He over there testing like the NBA.
Hey, I gotta sign a waiver. No, I got the rapid COVID test at the door, baby.
There you go.
We good.
I figured.
Oh, man. What about you? You were Mo and Ace. Like, what do y'all find yourself doing? Trying to I mean, I guess keep the spark in a pandemic, bro. Like, especially that all of us have kids. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, I would say, like, I'll say real quick, Ace, and I'm gonna toss it over to you, man. Like, this year has definitely been interesting, especially, you know, for somebody that has a lot of kids. You know, I got 4, and I've got 4 little ones, and all of them require a lot of kids. You know what I'm saying? And they require nonstop attention every day, all day long. You know, so before I returned to the office, like later in the year when this thing first popped off, I mean, it was interesting, man. It was definitely new, just kind of being stuck in the house with a nonstop, you know, routine. You know, I think both of us, and the reality where, you know, you get bummed out because you had a lot of plans this year. Like we had some big travel plans this year. I know you don't even want to go there, bro. You know, but I mean, shut down, you know, completely. Yeah. So over time, I think I learned and realized how much I was away and how much I was used to kind of being, you know, pop in, pop out, go back to work, you know, come home, try to, you know, get stuff ready, get stuff going. And then we might get a date night, you know, once a week type of thing. Now it's more of a reality where, you know, we both kind of are communicating through the day, like, hey, man, what you doing? You know, what you want to do tonight? It's like, I need to work out. I need to do this, blah, blah, blah. Okay, do that. And then we have other nights where it's like we lock in, you know, time to just sit on the couch, watch something, talk, you know, whatever. Other nights where we, you know, sit down and think we're going to talk. And then we both, you know, like, man, we're tired. We're ready to pass out, you know. So I think it's it's communicating. I think it's making sure that whatever that feeling is, whatever tensions are rising, whatever frustrations are in the home, you know, because it's a nonstop schedule, like as a couple, keep talking, you know, keep saying, hey, you good? You good? You need me to, you know, pop in, or I need help. Like, I need you to do this so I can just breathe for a moment. I need a nap, whatever that is, just be vocal with it. So,
yeah, that's good. I mean, yeah, because like, think about it. I mean, divorces are on the rise in the pandemic.
Oh yeah,
relationships getting broken. I know a few people dealing with that now.
Same.
And I also know people who are like married, but are also like, it's been a rough year because they got a newborn. And some people have different levels of, you know, liberal, conservative in regards to COVID. I'm kind of in the middle. Like, honestly, and Naja's just probably a little bit more conservative, but she's not crazy. I know one couple that they're super conservative. Like, I dropped something off to the house and I had to like drop it off at the porch. Like, they're just not interfacing with anybody. And I gotta respect that. But this same person also is dealing with some marriage stuff too. Because it's a husband, wife, and a newborn, you know what I'm saying, in the house for a year. Right. So I feel like for us, we're good because we're a little bit more liberal on COVID. That, I mean, look, if you want to watch my kids, that's cool with me. I'm not that scared. Like, or honestly, you could take a COVID test, get your results back in a week, and like, I'm not that paranoid, but I also am trying to be safe. So it's like I'm kind of in the middle. So for that reason, we've had some help. My sisters can watch them. My parents can watch them, stuff like that. Right. So like, we really it hasn't really disrupted. We kind of had a really good flow, honestly. But I understand people who are a little bit more conservative about COVID. I get it. They haven't had date nights. They haven't had babysitters, and they're just stuck. And I feel for those marriages and people. I don't really know what to say to those people.
You know? That's definitely.
You had me over there, boy. I had my mask on though.
Well, I was more concerned about you. As like, I mean, so like, I respect everybody else's boundaries.
You know,
I'm not trying
that's
to
my
like,
thing. I was like, man, I'll keep my mask on, man. Yeah.
And the kids gonna keep theirs on. We're gonna Lysol. Yeah, we gonna make sure you feel comfortable. Yeah. I'm not gonna like, for sure. But I'm gonna be out here though. No, I mean, mask on for sure. But
See, that's the reality though. I think we're if anything, 2020 taught us that we've got to get used to the new normal. I mean, whatever that means for each one of us. As long as, I would say, as a human, like, care for people, you know, take care of others, you know, don't be out here thinking like forget this is all a hoax, yada yada. That's kind of foolish. That's very foolish, you know. At the end of the day, care for others, respect other people's, you know, requests, and let's take care of each other. But at the same time, you know, we got to learn how to live through this.
Yeah. What were you saying, Jay? I'm gonna hear what you've been doing.
No, I was just saying. I know for us, we're pretty much the same. Like, I know Trina's way more conservative than me when it comes to this. Like, she works at the hospital, so I get it. But we haven't really, like, our date nights are basically after the kids lay down. Like, that's the way that we've been able to truly function, because we haven't had anybody keeping the kids besides the time when we went to Charlotte, when we went for our anniversary. So it's, you know, it's just been us for the most part. But I will say, we've definitely grown as a married couple during COVID, like, definitely. Just, you know, because it gives you more space to have conversations that you would normally just not have, you know what I mean? Because we're around each other so much. And so you have that longer period of time, like, even, you know, because if I'm working from home and she's off, she's here. And so, you know, it's not like I'm working from home and I'm tucked in the office corner and don't come in the room, but like, you know, it's free flowing traffic the entire time while I'm working from home type thing. So we're able to we definitely grew closer during the pandemic, but our dating life definitely took a hit, you know, because it's just, the reality is we can't go nowhere, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so I'm interested to find a way to improve that, if you want to say that, in 2021. And if that means that we're just gonna have to find a way to make that happen, meaning that my wife gonna have to trust people to like watch the kids during the
maybe I'll take a rapid COVID test. I'll and we'll just volunteer to watch them one night. Like, hey, here's the results, Trina. I'll come over for a night. You know what I'm saying? Like, we could do this. There's flexibility and functionality. We just have to like think about it and plan for it.
Yeah,
you know?
we got to think about it. And I mean, I definitely agree with you too, Mo. Like the travel plans that we had, that sucks because we were.
Bro, JD, man, y'all probably be the first. You probably be the first person that I know that was affected by the whole COVID situation. Because you was a G, you were like, man, we still going until 45 set it down, and it was like.
I mean, and honestly, bro, I will say that thankfully things happened the way they did, and truthfully, I think we would have been okay because we still were gonna have the mentality that we were gonna wear masks the entire time while we were over there. Like that was still a part of the plan. But it's still, it sucks because we had a nice trip planned. Like it was. There's no other way to put it. Like I actually went out my way to make some of these plans. I actually it was a surprise in there that I didn't tell my wife about that I was going to do. And so I have to wait to try to do that another time. But I'm not even going to share it on here because she might mess around and hear.
Right. Keep that in the pocket.
Yeah, I keep that one in the pocket. But
Have any of y'all lost like anybody knows a friend that had lost like a money or any kind of opportunity? Speaking of the vacation thing, that just made me think of like things. That
I was going to bring it up. Like, what was our failures? Because we talked about successes, but I mean, what are the things that we failed at during this pandemic? Because I mean, there's always another side. And so, Ace, I don't know anybody that lost anything in particular. I mean, I do know one person that had some investments that were locked in place, and the investments were in a company that relied heavily on people, and so that tanked. You know what I mean? And so they lost. They lost a lot of money. I don't want to put that figure out there, but they lost a lot of money. And because their portfolio was, I think they said about 45% based on that, experiences. And so, they hurt a lot this year, financially. So, dang, I just thought about that. That's crazy. But what about y'all? Any failures that y'all want to share for the year?
I'm around a lot of musician people, a lot of like the gig economy people just got hit hard. So
wow,
I know friends. It was trash. Some people had reserves, but people like that were like kind of entry level or like modest earning, living people that weren't like technically killing it. They had to figure some things out. I mean, we've been blessed, honestly. I did have one like random situation where I had a sync for a commercial for a song I produced that was like one of my biggest syncs. It was really sweet too. But at the last minute, T-Mobile changed their advertising strategy because COVID had to, basically it impacted the way they were advertising. So that song got shelved. That opportunity didn't happen. It was a nice little check too, but I was like, what can I say? I mean, I didn't plan for it, but I can't. Right. I just COVID affected this business opportunity, but whatever. On to the next. I mean, I still have my job, so I'm blessed. There's more people that's probably hurting in other ways. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. I mean, mine is less on the, I guess, business side of things. I mean, I think more than anything, just as a personal thing, I think looking back through the year, there were moments where I put it like this year revealed a lot to me about me, and there were moments that I realized there were things that I needed to overcome in myself, and I might have wasted time wrestling with those things, as opposed to, swallowing the reality, shifting and changing the pace immediately. It took some time to adjust. Thankfully, I was able to see that stuff and adjust eventually. A lot of it had to do with just the appreciation of the amount of time that I spent with the kids,
right?
The family, just appreciating the setting in general. But this is just the honest truth. I mean, this year revealed a lot, and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, that's good, bro.
That's real.
Yeah, nothing major for me, man. I really wouldn't say any failures, but just things to, um, just knowing that I thought life was short before, it's even shorter now because just how fast things can happen, and time waits for no one. Um, I mean, those were the biggest reveals, but answering your question about failures, I mean, I can't really think of anything like, nothing major as far as any failures for me. Thank God for that.
Hey,
It's good.
I had one that it doesn't haunt me, but I do think about it a lot. My dad wanted to go do a deep sea fishing trip.
Mm.
He was talking about it like since 2019, and every time we thought about doing it, he got sick, and then we couldn't do it. But there was still time to do it within that. And then like me, I didn't put it off, but I could have went hard for it. You know what I'm saying? So that bothers me a lot, knowing that I could have put that together. And now I don't, my dad's still in the house. Well, he's in a rehabilitation center now, but that kind of bothers me, knowing like, dang, I should have just. So it kind of goes back to what Corey's saying, just like, look, time waits for nobody. So if you got something that you want to do, bro, go ahead and do it, and then stop trying to put it off because you just don't know. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing for me. But look, 2020, I think the general consensus here is that we all learned a lot. And I think that we learned that we could do a lot of things that we didn't think that we were capable of doing during this time. So, just thinking of a Black thought is that don't allow circumstances to control your outcome, right? We could find ways to do things, right? No matter what happens. Like we all was up under some crazy circumstances in 2020. Truth is we're gonna be up on some of them same circumstances in 2021.
Right.
Yep.
But as long as we continue to learn and not be afraid to shift our mentality, I think that we're gonna be okay. All right. We have to learn to shift, whether that's in business. I know a lot of us, we didn't talk about this on the podcast this episode, but one great success was we invested in some stocks that we were more aggressive on our portfolios this year than we've ever been in the past. And we've had some nice returns this year just because of that. You know what I mean? So I think that's something, adjust with the times, man. Everybody else is doing it. We just got to be, as Black men, we got to start thinking forward that way too. Like when things kind of turn, we got to find out, okay, where can we be at? So when it turns back, we're in a successful, space. So that's it, man. We thank y'all for listening. We appreciate y'all. Black Men Think podcast. And I think we, Happy New Year.
Yeah. Happy New Year. We'll see y'all in 2021.
Yeah, for sure.
The Black Men Think podcast.